Bear with us. I have.
Reggie Bell here on the podcast. Glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. I'm Skull Smith.
And Alonzo, right here. Yeah. So, how you guys doing today? Good?
Good, yeah.
Good.
Yeah, liking the sun. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's nice. It's the first time we've seen it this year. We're entering our 5th month of winter, it seems.
Right. It's been very slow.
Yes.
Yes.
It has.
So, we have here today Reggie. You have a really interesting story, and that's why I wanted to have you on the podcast. And so tell us a little bit about, like, who is Reggie Bell? Like, what do you want the world to, like, know you, like, for? Or, like, what are your interests?
That's kind of tough. I have a lot of interest, and I'm just now kind of getting into them. The first part of my life was kind of dominated by sports and athletics, and I took that to a level to reach the NFL. So it kind of was overwhelming in regards to kind of exploring different types of things that you want to get into or that you're really interested in, because if you want to make it to the highest level in athletics, for any sport, you really have to be fully dedicated 365 days a year. So realistically, this has only been since I've stepped away from football, like 6 years. So I'm still very new to like life and who am I, like what am I about? I couldn't even answer that question because I don't have really the slightest idea as to who I am. I'm just going on my journey on that, because I'm not just a football player, I'm not just an athlete, and that's what my life has consisted of primarily. But I'm diving into different things and exploring, and I'm enjoying the journey, and I think that's really what life's about, and not getting too caught up in, who you are or what it is you can do for somebody or bring, and more so just enjoying the path and the people that you come across in that journey, and what you can experience and who you can help.
Yeah.
Don't mean to cut you off, but you said you were an NFL football player, right?
Yeah.
NFL. It is, NFL is football.
Yeah.
But anyway, what was I going to tell you? Not many people get to the professional level. In
Yeah.
fact, a lot of people quit trying to get to the professional level because it's like damn near impossible. So what made you stand out? What kind of work did you have to put in?
I mean, it's like I said, it's when it comes to sports, it's all sacrifice. Like you have to sacrifice a lot of time, vacations, parties, a lot of things you have to give up in place for, what, and it's not just football. It's really anything where there is such a slim, line to being in and making it and not. And you have to push yourself. You have to be training in the off season when other people aren't training.
Is there a specific memory or situation that you had to sacrifice that hurt you or kind of bothered you?
No, and that's the thing. If you're making sacrifices that are hurting you and bothering you, then you're not on the right path, and it's not for you, because with anything in life, you're gonna have to sacrifice. If it's worth having, if it's worth doing, if it's something that, people are gonna look at and be like, oh wow, you did that. Like, it's gonna be hard and you're gonna have to sacrifice. And if when you're making those sacrifices, if it's hurting you and you're like regretting, then you're not on the right path, because it's just part of the journey. Like, one thing I can say that I missed out on was one of my family members, like my uncle's wedding. It was in Jamaica.
Mm-hmm.
But I had to go to a combine, which didn't look like to everyone else like, oh, whole thing, but that, was instrumental in helping me get to college, which is all part of the journey. I got to college, and you can't go to the NFL unless you go to college. So
Right.
it's everything adds up, and you don't see, what's tallying in the back end early on in your story until, you know, later on. And a lot of people don't see that, and they're not going to see, you know, what you're working on and what kind of deposits you're putting in your bank for that path, until it's already like surmounting to something and mounting and you're, you know, showing that, oh, that there's some potential here or whatever. You know, there's a lot of time, and like that's one of the biggest sacrifices is putting in that time when you're not quite at that level where everybody can see what you see inside your head. You have to continue to build that dream or build that plan, whatever it is, because if you don't see it and nurture it, then how is anybody else going to see it? Because that's the thing with life, like nobody's going to do anything for you, and everyone's pretty not necessarily everyone's against you, but everything is against you. So you have to be for you. You have to be for your dreams. You have to be pushing and sacrificing.
Believe it or not, I'm currently in that situation in life where I'm learning fully, like, my life is my life, you
Right.
know? Nobody's gonna get up for me and cook breakfast. Nobody's gonna go make money for me. If I want to do that, if I want to have a roof over my head, I have to do it for myself.
Right.
And it's kind of a hard concept, but once you get to that mindset, that moment where you're in control of it, it becomes real.
Yeah.
What I'm kind of curious. What teams did you play for? And I know this answer, but for the audience watching, what teams did you play for, and how was life like in the NFL? Being around like celebrities, obviously football players, they're celebrities too. How was that? And you know, what were the teams you played for?
I played for the Redskins, who are now the Washington Commanders, and I played for the New Orleans Saints. And when you're in the NFL, I mean, if you've been in like any sort of college athlete, you know, situation, you know, like you get a lot of things kind of separate from like regular students, and like you have your own meal table and this and that, and everything when you get to the NFL is just elevated. Like you have a chef, like literally a 5-star chef who's cooking meals, and not just like one meal a day like type of thing. It's like he's cooking a 5-star breakfast and like a 5-star lunch, and like on the lunch it's like he's cooking 2 or 3 different dishes, and it's 2 or 3 different dishes every day. It's 2 or 3 different dishes. You travel chartered flights with like the cart, you know, the flight attendants come with the cart, and it has like every snack, everything in the grocery store that you would ever want, and you just grab it. You're getting police escorts. There's people waiting, you know, whenever you land, wherever you land, and cheering for you. Whole hotels are blocked off for you. Like it's a top of the line experience. They really take care of you, but at the same time, it's really like when you're there, it's a very different environment. Because it's survival. Everyone's trying to survive there. It's not really like buddy. Like I was fortunate enough to be able to connect with some people while I was there, and have that connection, because that's genuinely why I enjoyed football, was being with my boys and like really grinding together and pushing together towards a common goal. And that's what I liked about football, is it really brought together people for, you know, one common thing, to where you can push towards the same goal. But like when you get to the professional level, there's a lot of different aspects that go on, some politics and business, and people have kids, and there's families, and some people have multiple baby mamas. So it's like it's different. It's a whole different situation, and guys are coming in, they're clocking in and they're clocking out. It's not like, you know, you're in college with your boys, or even more like high school, you know, like how you are in the locker room. It's a lot different.
Any specific well-known players that stood out to you that you had to, you know, share a locker room with? Any big names you can think of?
Sure. I mean, there was a bunch of people. I got really close with, I guess the biggest name people would have been Deshaun Jackson when I was on the Redskins, and Pierre Garcon. I got really close with them. And when I was on the Saints, I got really close with Mark Ingram. And got to spend Thanksgiving over there with his family and everything like that. So that was enjoyable. And even like when I got cut from the Saints and everything like that, Mark Ingram was the guy who helped me when I was getting my car shipped back, because I flew out, but my car was still there, and he coordinated that. He helped me get back to the airport and everything like that. So,
what position did you play?
I played wide receiver.
Wide receiver.
Yeah, I'm like 20 pounds down from like when I used to play. So, don't judge me. Like I'm not like in my NFL form anymore.
I'm in no position to judge.
Okay.
I would love to show off your highlights, and hopefully we can somewhat show that off because he has highlight reels of different games that he was playing. I would love to show that off too.
I have all my highlights on
Instagram, right?
On a YouTube actually video.
Okay.
It's from basically all the footage that I have from like high school all the way up to the NFL.
How long did you get to play in the NFL?
Just under 2 years, which is just under the average, which a lot of people don't know. The average NFL career is 2.2 years. So I did just under the average, and so
How do you feel about the whole experience?
I mean, I don't feel negatively or anything like that. I've kind of it's just part of, who I am and what I did, and it's part of my early life, I guess up to 25 is like the first quarter of your life.
Again, you're being very humble because not a lot of people.
Well, I mean, at the same time, I can't get caught up in that. Like, what can I do? I can go around telling what is that going to do for me? Where is that going to really get me? It's going to get people to want to talk to me about something that I'm not doing, something that I'm not making money from, something that I'm not putting myself into. Right. So it's like a reinventing because, you can't get caught up in that, and I have to move forward because it's just a part of who I am. It's not who I am. Right. Mm-hmm. And, but at the same time, I understand it was it's a big accomplishment, and I take that with me forward as I move forward with life. I don't like hold it like, oh, I'm this or that, or like I'm special. But I use it as like a token, like, okay, people look at something and they're like, oh, well, it's nearly impossible. Well, then I just look back like, well, I've done what people say is impossible, so it can't be impossible. Like, I can do this. Then that just gives me a little bit of extra motivation, and I can use that as like a motivation. Like, I can do it if I'm just going to have to work. Like, it's not going to be easy. You're going to have to sacrifice. It's going to be the same process, just in a different, in a different shell. So I can use that as like, and I do. And that's the thing with athletics. That is really good, I feel, for character building, especially for younger people, because it teaches you different things about your character, and you'll learn different things that you might not get to see such like in your face. That's the thing that I love about sports, is it puts all of these kind of ideas right in front of your face that you have to see it. Like, adversity is going to be literally right in your face. You're going to be sweating and dripping with sweat and like wanting to quit, but like you have your teammate right there next to you, and the coach is like, if you guys don't do this, like you're all gonna have to do more. So you're like, okay, like I have to fight through this, not just for me, for the person next to me and the person there and the person behind me. Like, I have to get through it, and you get to learn different things about yourself and about other people, and you can grow a lot through athletics, and that's what I really like, and I can take that with me just moving forward into the different things that I want to go and try, and just use it.
Is
as
one
like,
of those things that you want to do a coach?
Not. I mean, I don't know. Maybe, probably one day. I guess when, maybe if I have a kid, I'll probably get into coaching if he wants to get into playing. And not to be like one of the coaches that are like, oh, that's my son, put him in. But like, because I've been around that and I know, but like to make sure that that's not going on and make sure that, you know, I'm giving everybody that's around, because I do have a plethora of knowledge in that field. I spent 17 years of my life, you know, into that field and taking it to a very high level. But at the current moment, like, I don't have the desire to. I did train a couple of like individuals, and I enjoy that. I like helping people along their journey. But as far as like coaching at this point in my life, there's different things that I feel I want to explore and learn and see what I enjoy doing. Like I said, it's only been 6 years that I've been outside of football, and I would push away a lot of things when I was younger, because I knew, like, okay, I can't let it derail me from, you know, football, because I have to be a certain way. I have to be locked in and, you know, focused on this.
Were you able to have a love life at all?
Good
Because you
question.
sound really disciplined.
Yeah, no,
You're like, no time for girls.
Yeah.
Well, I don't have a current, like, you know, flame or anything like that, and I really never did. I hung out with girls, and especially in college, because, you know, it's a great place to explore, I could say. But I also knew that I had to stay extremely, like, single track minded if I was going to make it to where I was going to go. So I would pretty much, even if I was like hanging out with a girl and I enjoyed hanging out with her and like everything was copacetic and kosher, I would just cut it off after like 3 months, just because like I knew they would start getting serious and like start getting feelings, and I knew that that's not where my heart was at the time.
Heartbreaker. I see.
I mean, I guess, and I know, like, it probably wasn't the best, because now it's like, like, I'm like, oh, well, I really enjoyed, you know, and like all the girls like hate me, like, no.
Yeah.
So it's like, but yeah, I just take everything day at a time, and, you know, it's life, and it's a journey, and everything comes in waves. Like, well, you know, the direction I kind of went today, I didn't immediately come into filmmaking. Actually, I was like completely like lost. I didn't know what I wanted to do, what direction I wanted to go. After I like decided, okay, I'm not gonna continue to chase the NFL, because I already knew it was like a Cinderella story, and it was like once in a lifetime thing, and, you know, it kind of fell through. So I was like, all right, what am I gonna do next? And then I took a trip to Hawaii and actually ran into these jewelry people, and that's where I got involved with jewelry, and I did that for 5 years. But the situation wasn't as great as I would have liked. So I had to step away from that, and only probably about a year and a half ago, like, I kind of found myself back on the path that I'm on now. I was looking back, like, just into my life, like, kind of doing inventory, like, what did I enjoy, like, what did I push away, what were some of the things that I pushed away when I was younger to pursue football, and, like, why don't I kind of go that direction a little bit and see how that makes me feel about myself, about life, about, you know, the value that I feel in myself, because I was beginning to feel like, oh, well, there's no point, like, what's the point in my life, like, I don't matter, there's nothing, because, like, football, whatever, right? You know, there was no football, no NFL. And I started looking back, and I was like, okay, I did theater in 8th grade and played like a pirate captain in this play. And then in college, I took an acting class, Acting 101. And then, like, I was like, oh, I got an A in it. It was like one of the few classes in college I did get an A, and like was actually engaged in, and not like just like looking over my partner's shoulder to get the answers. But yeah, I took that, and I was like, you know what, let me look into acting and see, you know, if this is something I can get into. And I started doing some research, and I got myself into a class. But also, like, I also enjoyed doing video work and kind of cinematography and capturing that, because when I was doing the jewelry, I would, work with the camera to capture some of the things that we're doing in events, but not in like a narrative form, like with acting. And I got into my acting class and got a few acting buddies and started, working on our own little films and just putting them out there on YouTube, and just trying to learn and build and work those muscles out in the craft. And it's very relatable, sports and the filmmaking world, in that, you have to push yourself. People aren't going to see the movie. People can't see your idea or whatever, like, until it's finally finished, and like, they're not always going to believe in it. So you have to like fight for it, and nobody's going to finish your movie but you, or maybe if you have a producer to help you or whatever, like, you and your team. It's up to you guys to get that project out so people can see it. And the thing that I really enjoy about, being an actor and being a cinematographer, and also about like sports, is that you have to be present in that moment. You have to be all the way in, otherwise like you're going to get smacked by a linebacker on the backside, or you're going to miss the moment, or you're not going to deliver on your line. You have to be in that moment, actively listening, actively going for it and committing to what you're doing at that time. So that's what I really adored about this space, in the filmmaking and acting space, was that it forces you to be present in the moment, and that's really why I was drawn towards it, and especially also the creativity that you have, and that freedom to kind of play around with different ideas.
Any specific actors that you look up to the most, or that you just want to maybe work with them one day?
There is plenty of actors. I had the pleasure of working on a film that was shot out here, in the Bay Area a couple of months ago, and it'll be releasing in a couple of months here, hopefully, is Thirsty. And I got to work with Sam Kang and Tyler Play and Jamie Newman, who were all awesome actors, and it was super inspiring to see actors in the craft working on a big project, and right here out in the Bay Area on a pretty powerful story. And that's inspiring to me. So it's not necessarily, I don't necessarily get starstruck by any actor in particular. I just want to work with people who genuinely love and enjoy what they're doing, and are passionate about it, and and are in the moment, committed to the moment to moment work. And that's the people I want to be with. And I'm not sure, I don't know who they are, but I know the people that I saw on set. It was nice. I was only an extra, but to actually go back and forth with some of these people, even those that I saw. And but that's a good question, and I'd love to be able to see more actors and be on more sets, to know a little bit more in depth who I'd like to work with, who I'd like to kind of go back and forth with.
Any specific roles you would love to play? Like, would you ever want to play, like, I don't know, a soldier, a doctor, or something emotional, or something scary? Like, is there any specific genre or any specific type of character you'd like to really dig into?
Not necessarily. I'm still so young into it, and I haven't really. I'm in class and I've been studying, but there's not necessarily any one role that I I'm like, oh yeah, I just want to try it all. I want to do it all, and because I don't know where I fit in. I don't know what how my how my character plays out in different scenarios. So I'm excited to explore and do it all. I'd love the opportunity to do each and every one of those. Even play an athlete even would be cool. I think I can really relate to it. Because I feel like I can really resonate with a lot of what's gonna go on and when they're getting cut and these feelings and different things like that. So I think I could do well in a role like that.
I think school has a question for you.
Yeah.
I noticed that you mentioned the movie Thirsty. I was also almost an extra in that movie.
Oh, nice. Yeah. No, it was really cool. Really cool set. Awesome director. And Emily, she was super inspiring. And I love the way that she handled her extra talent, or what she calls background stars. So I loved the energy, and that's also another thing too, just being on set and seeing different people in their space, like the sound guy, seeing the sound guy work, seeing the gaffers work.
Believe it or not, I've never been on anybody else's set, so even being on somebody else's set is pretty a big name.
Oh yeah, it's cool. Like, you learn so much and you make so many different connections. I met some producers on the set. The camera guy was super cool. Being able to see everything like that.
How do you handle something you don't like?
I don't not like really much anything, as long as you're not like trying to hurt me or something like that. It's really hard for me to not like something, because I've been through that's the thing with football. You go through so much, and like your coach is like really bearing down on you, and they're running you up hills and down hills and bear crawling and doing all this stuff. So it's like, it's really hard for a situation, for me at least, to like not like it or be affected in a negative way.
Well, I don't know if you're like a filmmaker, or if you're like part of like is it SAG or whatever?
No, I'm not SAG yet.
But I do a lot of my own stuff, and I work with some people in the industry, and they don't necessarily bother me working with them. What bothers me is the aftermath of they might not promote it, or they might not help me with maybe getting actors on set, or an editor after the fact. I feel like they're very selfish, and they want to get whatever they can get off of me and not share what their source is, their stuff with me. And it's like, we're all in this industry together. I know it's competition, but imagine if we were all working together as a team, like you mentioned, NFL, and now you're doing acting, and even acting is a team, the camera, the sound, the light. So it's all that you're mentioning goes back to teamwork. You're part of it, but all of it is teamwork. So that aspect of filmmaking, at least independently, I have not seen it personally. I feel like people are just, it's part of being human, selfish. We're selfish. We want to, we have bills and stuff, but if I were to seriously see that teamwork, it would be a much better experience.
Yeah, and I mean, that's how I came into it right from the beginning, with that being my intention. And only like allowing those types of people that are resonating with me to come in and be around. Otherwise, I have to bite that bullet and pick up that slack myself. And it is tough, and that's the world we live in. And that's how, that's the way that people are responding and treating other people. But all that we can do is try and stay positive and continue to move forward, because at the end of the day, if you let that wear you down and burn you out, then you're never gonna get to that point where you do meet that person that it's gonna work out, because it's all just like, it's all part of the journey. Like that's what we're here for. We're here for the journey. We're not here for the destination. So once you can just like, you know, find joy and peace in the fact that, you know, the struggle and, you know, the hard times and all of the things that we don't enjoy, once we can get to the point where it's like, okay, like I know it's not the best situation, but I enjoy the fact that I'm gonna come out on the other side of it stronger and better, then it'll make it a little bit easier, because all of that, and everybody's not gonna change. As much as we'd love to, and we'd love everybody to love and be together, like that's just not in everybody's heart.
Right.
And everybody hasn't gone through an experience for them to have that perspective, to see what they're doing and to understand that the next person feels the same way that they felt when that happened to them, and then they're redoing it over and over. And some people would just be blind to that, and that's, you can't let that tear you down and bring you down and derail you from the path that you're on, and the stories you want to tell, and the projects you want to work on, and the people that you want to work with. Because like I said, the only person that's going to fight for your dream is you, and you have to, like, you just have to stay positive. You have to keep going, because there's nothing else you can do. Like, it's simple, like, it's as much as like as deep and complex as we are as humans, and like everybody, as they go down that rabbit hole of thoughts and like life and like you know, it's like goes so deep, but then at the same time, on the surface level, it's so simple. All you have to do is just keep fighting and staying positive and keep pushing, because there's nothing else. Like, everybody's minds go so deep, like you can't even dive deep. You can't hold your breath long enough to go deep enough into your mind to figure out what's down there in the deep depths. Like, you just have to keep swimming, like Dory said, just keep swimming, and everything will just fall into place, as long as you're staying positive and like pushing for that, because that's just the way, you know, our world works.
Yeah.
You have a camera right here.
Oh yeah,
So.
the elephant in the room. Before we transition to that, I have a question, and how much time is?
3 minutes and 42 seconds.
Okay, just a quick question. I know that you mentioned you know, the being behind the camera, being an actor, and also being in an NFL, but how do you deal with people with egos? Because obviously, especially in the film industry, and I'm sure in the NFL too, there's people with big egos where they won't talk to you if, you know, directly. They'll like, "I'll talk to my agent, talk to this person." Have you ever encountered that, where people have so, like, their egos are so big that it's just so hard to work with them? Has that ever happened to you on any side, whether the NFL or the filmmaking side?
The thing is, I learned in college from one of my coaches. He was a player coach, great guy. His name is Sam Ono. He said, "Your ego is not your amigo."
Mm-hmm.
So,
I like that.
Yeah.
So the thing is like, whenever I even see ego on somebody, like, you can't let that or anything affect you, because it's just not, it doesn't, you can't let it affect you, because, man, the ego, like I said, it's not your amigo. You want to steer clear of, not necessarily like those people, because you don't know where people are, or, you know, how they're gonna respond or what. But it's a matter of just like staying centered and grounded in who you are, and knowing, you know, what you have to offer, and always constantly working on yourself. Like, fortunately for me, like, I mentioned some people that, you know, when I was in the NFL, that I had got to, you know, bump shoulders with and do do different things, and it all comes down to, it's hard for me to speak on that because I've never encountered that. I've met people with ego, coaches with ego and stuff like that, but I just don't let it affect me. You have to be grounded in who you are.
Do you know how to work with these people? Like, do you just ignore their ego, or do you kind of like talk to them?
You have to.
What would you do in that situation if you were to face ego, or this person thinks they're so high up they need to,
Right. It's about just staying grounded in who you are, and meeting people, where they are, with love, like from your perspective. Like, you can see it, you can understand it, you can know what it is, but like it doesn't need to affect you. Like,
right.
Especially if you're already working with this person, just give them positive energy and love, and like that they may not show it, but like that's gonna shape them and how they act like in the future. Like, it's gonna do something to them, just because that's how life is. Like, you just keep meeting it with love, and like if they're gonna be actively, like, if you're doing that, they're gonna have to be actively like attacking you, and you're just meeting it with like I'm rubber, you're glue, anything you say bounce off me. And it's not gonna, you don't let it affect you. You just stay grounded in who you are and what it is, what other people say or how they do things affect you, because it's just life. Everyone's on their journey, and for whatever reason, that's where they are brought to feel like that's how they feel like they matter in this world. Like, you have to remember, everybody feels just like you. Like, they want to feel like they matter. Mm-hmm. They want to be heard. Like, somebody along the way, like something could have happened to them that pushed them to feel like that's how they need to cope. Like, and you don't know, like, they didn't have a Sam Arnold to tell them their ego is not their amigo. Like, not everybody is fortunate enough to come across people with knowledge to instill it in them so they can walk with that and grow along their journey. So you have to just be positive and meet them with love, because like if you're fighting it, and like, because it's not, they're not doing it because of you, like, and if they are, then you just want to meet it with love, because then it's going to really make them even question, like, why am I doing this to this person now? And if not, then it has nothing to do with you. You should have love in your heart for that person to understand, like, okay, something is going on. I don't know, but like, let me just meet them, here. Let me just meet them with love. And
you keep mentioning love, and
yeah.
A lot of people, unfortunately, in society can't really think that far deep
right.
when situations are happening, because you're so heated in the moment. Mm-hmm. You mentioned love. God comes to mind. Does God have a big impact in your life?
Yeah, definitely. It's life, like we said, you go into your thoughts and you dive down that rabbit hole, and it goes so deep. There's no way you can pull yourself out, like, without a hand. And who can pull you out? Can your buddy pull you out? No, he doesn't even know where you are when you're in there. Nobody knows where you are. So somebody has to know where you are to pull you out, because like, I've been down in there. I've been down into like the depression hole. It may not seem like it. It may seem like I have all my stuff together, but after the jewelry thing, and even after football, like, I was like, oh, well, who am I? What I don't matter, this and that. Even still, like, I battle with self-sabotage and finding value in myself and what I'm doing from the day to day. So we all have things that we battle with every day. And, I put my faith in God and in Jesus that, that I'll have that covering over me. And I don't have to, rely on my understanding and my knowledge of how things work or how people do things to keep moving forward in life. Because if that's the case, I would have been long gone, long time ago, So, yeah, I mean, you have to have something, that you can base your faith in and lean on. And I'm not saying that has to be God. For some people, it's other things,
Right.
But you need something to kind of lean on, because it's real heavy, and the world, you can't like that statue of the guy with the world on his back, like, no, we can't. You're literally gonna be torn down, and you need something to lift you up and kind of support you, especially in those tough times.
Well, knowing that you base your belief in God, that makes sense onto why you're like, you can't let other people's attitudes and personalities affect the overall.
But even before, because I've only recently started getting into understanding and reading the Bible for myself. These are a lot of the perspectives that I've carried since because my mom had me when she was 18, and she wasn't all into the church. I've only recently started in 2012, 11, and even more so in the past year and a half, I've been kind of going to church consistently every Sunday. So it's not like it's always been a part of my life, but it's always been a part of my psyche, even beyond knowing the book and the word.
Basic concepts.
Just basic
right?
concepts, and it's all and it's kind of in line with different things. I'm in a small group called Freedom that my church holds. It's a men's group. They have it all different kinds, but the one I'm in is a men's group. And a couple weeks ago, we were talking about forgiveness and talking about how, holding on and harboring hate and guilt for somebody is like drinking poison and expecting the next person to get, die or get sick off of it. And that was something I carried and just throughout life, and I'm I'm talking about it in my small group. I've said this to people, even when I was 16 years old. I don't know where I got it from. I've heard it somewhere, or I don't know, but I've had that and I've lived with that, and a lot of things in that regard are in line with that. But I'm not up here quoting Bible verses. That's not me. I'm still just new and getting into all of that.
It's meant to be interpreted by everybody in their own way.
Right. So I kind of, that's how I kind of already kind of approach life, you can say. But
I think that's good for business, even having that upper hand with something to believe in and how to treat people and stuff like that. Because I think if you're just business oriented or too religious, there's no halfway.
Yeah, because you'll start pointing fingers too. If you're too religious, you're all right, well, this person is a sinner. I'm not gonna associate. But that's not the way even Jesus came onto this earth. He was literally with the worst parts of society, and it talks about that in the Bible. And that's I always respect people that are in the church and aren't judging people because of their past. We should all love each other and show unconditional love, because you can't have somebody change, or you can't have somebody
remember, the people that go to church are hurt people.
Of course.
And
yes,
we're not perfect.
Exactly.
So I've been hurt in church a lot.
Yeah.
It's a struggle. It's a relationship for sure with God, but definitely not easy. It's definitely also a walk.
Yeah,
it's a walk for sure.
So.
There are people who often use religion as a means to exercise their inner trauma, and they often will occasionally extend judgment onto people if they get very focused on the rules of the religion because the rules are comfortable to them, so they stick with those rules, and anybody who doesn't follow the rules, oh, you're going to heck. kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, there's literally a Bible story about that. I think it
Yeah.
was about a prostitute where like all the men were around her, like about to stone her. Like, well, if you guys haven't committed sin, throw the stone in her. And everybody just like walked away because
Exactly.
we're all sinners at the end
Yeah.
of the day. Nobody's perfect.
Yeah, and that's okay.
And that's
Yeah.
fine. I mean, God loves broken people.
If
As
you-
long as we try to at least better ourselves.
Yeah,
and
and
try to
it's-
grow.
Yeah, I mean, we all have our go-to of meditation and
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, but kind of moving forward from that, I want to discuss the elephant in the room. Do you want to talk about the red camera you got here?
Yeah. I mean, I don't have the whole thing. It's pretty much just the brain here, and a side handle, top plate. But the thing is if you're gonna do something, you kind of have to be committed fully, and that doesn't mean you have to go and invest in a cinema camera or invest in the top of the market, whatever,
Eventually.
in whatever field you're in.
Eventually, you do.
But you need to invest in yourself, in your passion. And I was fortunate enough to get a good deal on a cinema camera, Red, and I took advantage and I started hit the ground running and started using it for my projects and different opportunities that come up for me, because you have to be committed and you have to know that what you're doing and what you're investing in is for you, and also that you are doing that and pushing yourself forward along your journey. And also the thing that I love about Red, it's an American company, so that's really cool. And they're an awesome company. I bought this used and I reached out to the company and they welcomed me in with open arms. Like I spent, $100,000 on it, and they gave me a representative and I can contact him if I have questions. And I really love the whole ecosystem that they have and how they kind of made me feel like family. And if I have questions, I can reach out and, get answers. And it's an awesome camera. And
So it's almost as much as maybe a car.
More than a car.
How much do these things go for?
well, it depends. This body is discontinued. This is a DSMC2 body. Now they're on DSMC3 with the
By
Komodo.
body, what do you mean?
This is the brain. So this is a IO expander with all of my inputs.
Uh-huh.
This isn't part of the brain. The Red is basically like a computer. You think of it like this is your desktop computer, and then
Yeah.
you have to attach your monitor screen, and this
attachments.
is your outputs and everything, your I/O. And they have another one a bigger one if
Yeah.
you're doing production with XLR more.
Because I've
Everything
seen
with that
cameras huge.
Yeah, that's when you add the different expansion pack, and then you're adding batteries as well. I didn't bring any of
The extra stuff.
the extra stuff. I literally just brought the brain. This is just the brain, and my handle's attached. But yeah, this is the brain, which is your sensor, and this is where your media goes. Pop it in.
What is your proudest project that you've done in this camera? If there's
Well,
a-
I just finished it. I'm that's why I said I'm tired. I've had a long week. I've been.
Gotcha.
This is my first project, and it's 36 minutes. It ended up being. It's supposed to be around 10-15 minutes, but it almost a full-on movie.
I have the opposite problem.
Right. So yeah, we've been having the problem where we can't stay under a time because we have a lot of actors. And,
That's good.
yeah. So
That's good. When you're making a short and it goes beyond.
Yeah, it's nearly.
That's
That's
good.
the thing. We're trying to
I know.
tame it back. We're trying to bring it in. We've been having.
Yeah.
I've worked on 2 projects with my collective, and I mean between the two projects we've shot like almost in an hour. So like
That's
two,
not a
two
problem to have. That's
yeah,
that's
well,
a good
it is.
thing.
No, it is a problem when you're just trying to turn the
Right.
wheels a little bit, and we're like, everyone's like trying to hit it out the park. Like I'm just trying to work on little edits here and there, and I got 40 minutes worth of, even more, like an hour worth of footage.
I
to
wish.
edit in
I
36
wish.
minutes. But, no, it's good, and it'll be out. Hopefully in the next couple of days here.
It's a
called
film or a
Perfect
short?
Match. Yeah, it's I mean, whatever I've been calling them short featured. Short featurettes. That's what I've been calling them.
Okay.
Because it's not, we didn't go into it thinking of it like a feature film. We went into it, it's supposed to be 10, 15 minutes. But it ends up being a little bit longer. So I the first one we released was like 26 minutes. And then this one is like 36 with credits and everything like that. So yeah, I've been tabbing them as short featurettes. That's what I've been calling them on my YouTube.
Nice.
My YouTube is Regular Guy with a Camera. And that's where I
That's the
release
name
all
of
the
the
projects.
channel?
Yep.
Regular guy with a camera.
Yeah.
It starts with the first 3 letters of your name.
Yeah, exactly. And then like that's why even on my Instagram handle is Reg G, regular guy, Reg with a cam. So that's my Instagram handle. Is like short for the YouTube. So Reg with a cam and regular guy with a camera. So yeah, you caught that. That's that was like the little thing. That's
Play on words.
yeah, my little play on words.
Yeah.
So you directed this film?
I directed and I was the I was the director of photography as well.
So you shot it.
I shot it and directed it, yeah.
Nice.
And then
You guys are hard to find, especially in one.
yeah, yeah. So I mean, I enjoy it. I prefer to be a shooter, just a cinematographer, but I also enjoy directing a little bit. But like my directing style is a little bit looser. I like to give the actors a little bit more freedom, and to see what they're gonna do, see how they want to play the scene out, and then kind of give my insight from there, because I feel that gives me a more realistic interpretation of the scene from the perspective of the people performing, instead of being like, okay, I want this, and then they're performing that. I'm like, how would you perform this?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, I maybe try with a little bit of this or a little bit of that, and then let's see what we get, and kind of trying to capture the most realistic performance from my
That's
talent.
definitely effective. 'Cause
So that's just the way because like I'm an actor as well, and I'm not gonna be like, oh, I'm Scorsese or some crazy director. I'm not Spike Lee, somebody that's proven, and like, oh, so it's gonna be hard for even people to buy in and listen to you. Like as a director, if you're a little bit more a little bit more flexible with your talent, you can get a little bit more out of them, because then now they feel like, okay, well, this is me. Like if what people think of it, like at the end of the day, like that's what they think of me, like not the director. Like those thoughts that they're thinking are because this is my performance, this is what I wanted to do. So it gets them to buy in and be that much more committed as well. And that's what we look for. You want genuine emotion under imaginary circumstances when you're working in narrative projects, and anything you can do to help your
All right, we're shooting, we're recording. Scott, do you want?
I do. I just like to say I've learned so much just from sitting here and listening to your story. It is truly inspiring. I see a lot of parallels in my own life as well, even though I never played for the NFL. I don't know if you can tell.
yeah, no, that's the thing, it doesn't matter what you do in life, like we all have a journey with like so much like that people can learn from and that we can share, and that people have experienced. Like a lot of people don't even realize like they're like you said, like their experience can parallel each other. Like it could be completely different, you know, avenues that it's gone through, but it could be the same thing, that same despair or trauma or, you know, success or excitement that I felt, the next person could have felt the exact same thing. And that's why, like I said, it comes back to just like meeting everybody that you encounter with love and just staying grounded in who you are and not letting other people necessarily sway you, because you just never know like when you're gonna meet somebody who, you know, is gonna be a part of your life or make, you know, a huge change in your life and give you some kind of epiphany and, you know, have you reach a different level. So just always staying grounded in who you are and moving forward with that.
So here's the pressing question, because the podcast is called The Grind. So before we conclude, what is next?
What's next? I'm still grinding. Working with my collective. We're pushing out projects like hopefully like once a month if we don't keep making like trying to make full-on movies in the month, with like little to no budget. Like I'm so surprised at like how much like this group of people that I've been working with, how much we get done with no budget, like budget for food and like that's
Very
it. Like
impressive.
we're literally we're shooting for six different days, 6 different
They're
locations.
dedicated.
Yeah, they're
I love it.
dedicated.
Yeah.
They're dedicated and you know, getting locations, and people are being producers, people are being gaffers, people are doing different things. We had a 12-year-old on set who did an internship for his class, like with our group, because like we were so, the way we were operating it, you know, people were taking it seriously. Like someone went and started in a sauna, and like that's how we communicate, and you know, people are taking their roles very seriously, like it's a full-on production.
It sounds definitely anointed.
Oh, well, I mean, I pray that it is, and that, you know, we can continue to grow and tell bigger stories and hopefully get some bigger budgets and get, you know, some more exciting things and get onto some different channels to distribute and make some money.
So where can they find you?
You can find me on Instagram, Reg with a Cam, or on YouTube. That's where all of the projects will be released. This next one, Perfect Match, will be...
Perfect Match.
Yeah, Perfect Match. It's about dating...
Out soon.
Yes, the dating life, modern dating life, and like dating apps and kind of the carousel of, you know, bad dates, and then kind of stepping away from it and letting, you know, life kind of happen and your person kind of run into you that way, instead of actively like chasing that. Like that's one of the things where you don't want to actively like grind for it and like go after it and let people know like, yeah, you know, it's one of those things that you gotta kind of sit back and like let it happen. Otherwise, you know, you're gonna end up forcing something or hurting someone or in a situation you're not supposed to be with the person you're never supposed to be around. And it's hard, you know, because we're very physical beings, and you know, we crave, you know, to be
Attention, affection.
yeah, and to be loved. And you know, but that's why you need to ground yourself and know who you are and know what your path is, because that's when your people are going to come around, when you're on that track and you're on the right track, because then the right people are going to also be on their right track, and then you can all kind of move through life together.
You be the person that you want to attract.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I guess with that, thank you so much for your time, Reggie. we wish you nothing but the best. Obviously, you have other filmmakers here that would love to collaborate with you on the future projects. I know Jeanette's probably like itching to like.
There's
plug
might be something, maybe.
Maybe,
You never
but
know.
yeah. But thank you so much for your time, and thank you guys for watching. And yeah,
Subscribe
yeah.
to him and I, and him and him.
Emily?
Yes, subscribe.
All right.
Peace.